And I'm Kirk Chase on in our satellite room. We're going to go straight to Monica Vaughn with the weather. Monica, a lot of folks out barbecuing on this Father's Day. What can they expect when they head out to the grill this afternoon? Thank you, Monica. Our top story this morning, a 2-week-old child fighting for his life, severely injured in a car wreck north of Weslaco. It happened on FM 2812 and FM 88. DPS spokesman Johnny Hernandez tells us the child was in a red van. The driver reportedly failed to yield the right-of-way to an oncoming pickup truck. 9 people taken to the hospital. The baby among the worst injured. He suffered a broken neck and a fractured skull. Crash investigators working to determine if the driver of the van will face charges. Now let's take a closer look into the top stories that had you talking this week. First, a shootout outside a home in Sherryland. Police say a group of armed men pulled up to the home in the 2200 block of School Lane and opened fire Tuesday morning. The house hit more than 24 times. The homeowner, believed to be a former Mexican law enforcement officer. Investigators say he fired back at the attackers. Now, Polo, we hear the homeowner is at the center now of a money laundering investigation.
Yeah, Kirk, when we got there, well, police investigators had just arrived on scene. They start looking through the house and they check in a paint bucket in the backyard. Turns out about $50,000 in cash. It was all wrapped in sort of that shrink wrap that most kitchens or most folks will use in the kitchen. So now investigators want to find out where that money came from, but mainly why was he living in this house for about 7 to 8 years? He's in the country illegally. Claims to have been kidnapped in 2004 and then eventually released after he signed over his properties, and that's where he was hiding in plain sight in that house only a couple of blocks away from Sherryland High School. We'll see what this week or this coming week brings to this story. This other one had people talking all week long. The Donna woman coming to us sharing her story of a wrong delivery. You see, a package was dropped off at her doorstep. It had her address, but someone else's name on it. She opened it up. Lo and behold, a load of marijuana was packed inside. Well, she called police and quickly turned over the drugs. We were shocked about this happening, but Kirk, you turned to police when you covered the story on Monday. Turns out it's not that uncommon.
Yeah, it certainly caught my attention, Polo, when a Donna police sergeant told me this kind of thing happens more often than you might think. People mailing marijuana get the wrong address every now and then, so it shows up at the home of some unsuspecting person. The mailers usually put a bogus return address, which is what happened in this case, so no telling where the package came from. One interesting note is that those return addresses are often to local RV parks, which are mostly vacant when the winter Texans leave. Of course, the woman worried that someone might come looking for the marijuana, which she had turned over to police right away, so they have increased patrols around her home as a precaution.
Kirk and I keeping our fingers crossed for a little bit of rain. We'll have to see what happens. Hey, how about we check in now with some of our headlines across the valley right now.
Right, this morning we're following new developments in the case of a man suspected in the accidental shooting of 2 Edinburgh students earlier this year. Court records show Dustin Wesley Cook indicted by a grand jury on Thursday. Now, this is video of the 36-year-old at his arraignment back in January. The recent indictment accuses the competitive shooter of causing serious bodily injury to 2 teens who were at basketball practice when stray bullets hit them.
Also, Talal Nimer El Haj is now facing 3 counts of attempted murder. Police say he forced his way back into the house Friday night and shot his wife, daughter, and his daughter's boyfriend. The suspect denies those allegations. Mission Police Chief Martin Garza saying the daughter's boyfriend was able to get a hold of a knife, a kitchen knife, and defend his family.
And Elsa fire investigators trying to figure out what caused an abandoned building to go up in flames. The fire broke out yesterday morning near 4th Street. Neighbors say it's not the first time an abandoned building has caught fire in the area. Investigators not ruling out arson.
This next story, Kirk, a portrait of love, loss, and what it really means to be family and dad. Yeah,
ABC's John Donovan has the story of 2 fathers, 2 families, and a promise kept.